YouTube. In this video, we are going to create Primer app with Angular 10. If I click on increase, it is the value increase from 0 to 10. If I decrease, it is from 10 to 0. If you reset, if you click on reset, it is getting to 0. Fine. This is a project folder I'm going to work on. It's a blank Angular project. So to open it, I'm going to Visual Studio, and you have to open your current folder. That is the folder with where the Angular is installed. Fine. So we have to get into the src folder. This is where we are going to work on. Inside the src we have an app folder. This is the place where we are going to create our Primer app. So the three files we would be modifying is app component html, app component css, and app component typescript. Fine. So this is the css and this is the typescript we will be working on. So let me start the server. Ng serve will start the server, and we can view the output in the browser. You can see the result will be in the localhost :4200. 4200 is a port number. The timer app has shown, it's on the title. Now if I type anything on the HTML, we can view on the browser without refreshing. Angular does it. Fine. Now let's create a container which holds our heading and buttons. So the first heading would be the timer app. For time convenient, I'm just using the static. I will make it dynamic once I get into the TypeScript file. Fine. Now let's create another div. This will hold the three buttons. And the working of three button is, if I click on a button, I want a function to get triggered. So as like JavaScript, there is a function called onClick. Let me name it increase it, and let me name this button as decrease it. So the functionality of this button is, when I click on a button, I want something to happen. So when I click on it, I want the function name, which is reset, need to be called. So this is the syntax of JavaScript. With a little modification, we will be using it in the Angular. Let me name it as increase it and decrease it. So these are the functions. We'll create this function in the TypeScript file. So before that, let me create some CSS. The common style, which is the body is common for everyone, so we can give the body style, or you can say body rule, to the styles.css file. Let me open the styles.css file. Here it is, and this is a place for global style, and without refreshing we got the output. And if I paste it over here, it won't work. You can see the body, I have not saved it. Fine. Now let's choose a container. Let me choose a container, and I'm going to make display flex. And with the help of align item and justify content, I want to place these heading to the center. So for that, I will use the display flex to the container. Choose the container and paste the property display. So to work, to make the justify content work, we have to give. Fine. We don't want the row, we want the column. So for that, flex direction column. The next thing is, let me change it to black. You can see it is not working because the value is getting from the styles.css. Now change the color to black and save it. Now you can see. Now let me change the color of the heading to white. Choose H1 and change and add a rule called color white. Likewise do it for the heading 2 as well. Fine. Now let's style the button. Choose the button tag and let me give the padding font size as 1 rem, and let me add the margin left 1 rem. Font size, let me change the cursor to pointer. So when I hover it, I can see the cursor changes to pointer. Now it's time for the TypeScript. So we don't require this file component.css. Now let's get into this TypeScript file. So as I said, the on click is for the JavaScript. So for Angular, it would be simply click. Copy and replace it to other buttons as well. So let's define this function in the TypeScript file. So this is a class where we are going to define it. So this title, I'm going to change it to timer app in Angular 10. Previously, as I said, it was static. Now I'm going to convert it to dynamic. Just use this in place of static. The bracket which I am passing, the concept is called interpolation. The same way, let me create another variable. The variable will be the count. So as of TypeScript, I have to define the type of the variable, which is string. So let's create another variable count, and this would be of types number. It would be 0. So I can use with the help of interpolation and pass the variable count, and now it's 0. Fine. Now when I click on it, I want the number to be incremented. When I click on this button, I want the button to be decremented. So let's define it. I'm going to use the arrow function. So when I click on reset, I want the number to be 0. Let's access the count variable with the help of this keyword. To make the change C, I'll make it 10 when the page loads. So when I click on reset, it will be 0, and that's working. Now let's get into the let's create another functions. Increase it and decrease it. So on increase, I want the count to be incremented by 1. On decrease, I want the count to be decremented by -1. Variable minus +1 for increment and -1 for decrement. So if we see, if I click, it is getting incremented. If I click on decrease it, it is going to decrease. If I click on reset, it is 0. So what I need is, I want for every second, I want the value to be incremented, but on value 10 it should stop. So for that, I will use a function called setInterval, and the first parameter will run every second, and the second parameter is the second. For 300 millisecond, I want this code to run. So if you see, if I click it, for every 300 millisecond, it is getting incremented. So there is a condition: if the count variable is equal to 10, if the count variable is equal to 10, what I need is, I want to stop the variable at 10. So I'll define the variable to 10, or else if it is not 10, then just keep on incrementing. Assign it to 10, and then I want to stop this set interval. After, when it reaches to 10, I want the set interval to stop. That's why I have used clear interval. On 10 it stops. The same way I'll do it for the decrease it. Here a single difference: when the count reaches to 0, I want the count to be 0, and then I want to stop the counter along with, if it is not a 0, then decrease it. Fine. If I click on increase it, it is going to get incremented till 10. If I click on decrement, it is going to get decrement to 0. The result is also working, the reset is also working, and that's all for this basic Angular project of version 10.